What you take by force, you have to keep by force. When we
And
walk in rooms and we can command a room, we can command the space. You
mm,
can't command a
mm.
room, you can't command higher revenue, you can't command your business if you can't command the chaos that's running inside of you.
Welcome back to Harmony in the Hustle. I am so excited today because I have one of my friends as a special guest on our new series, our women's series, which is the Successful Women series. And I launched that recently. And this woman today is my second guest that we have on this series. And I'm so excited to introduce her. So let me just give you a little bit about her. Her name is Jenni Rae Oates, and she lives in Franklin, Tennessee. She's a high performance and brand strategist who helps high achieving female founders, coaches, and consultants rewire the internal patterns driving how they lead and succeed. And after 2 decades working with top performing women and building multiple 6 and 7 figure businesses herself, she's known for helping women leaders break free from the toxic hustle and activate what she calls the female hustle. Now, authority under pressure and build brands that command rooms, revenue, and recognition. Through her live experiences in Franklin, Tennessee, and her firebrand work, she helps women step into authority and build businesses that match the level they're ready to lead. Welcome to our Successful Women series on Harmony and the Hustle. Jenni Rae, lovely to have you here today.
Oh, thank you so much, Angela. It's so great to be here.
Oh, you're amazing. Yeah, yeah. I'm just so glad to have you on. I mean, we've been, I think, trying to organize this for months now.
Oh
Uh,
my word, yes.
you know what? I always believe in divine timing because the
Yep,
timing's perfect. Because now, once I created this year in 2026, our Successful Women series, I thought you're one of my first people on my list. So I'm
uh,
glad that we figured all this out and we've got you here. So, yeah, so it's
yes,
perfect timing.
perfect timing. And whoever's hearing it, they're gonna hear it at the right time too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so excited for our conversation today because this is everything that I've been talking about. And I know that, you're such a high performance person yourself. You've been an athlete, a very successful athlete. So this high performing person. And I was an athlete, in, what do I call it? Another life a long time ago. And I think it's kind of as entrepreneurs and successful high performing people, it's kind of inbred in you. Like you always are somebody that, is pushing and striving and wanting to achieve more. And no doubt you're like that. But I think I want to just give the audience a bit of a context about how we met. Because you and I met at Eileen Wilder's mastermind in where were we? Houston, Texas, about
Yeah.
a year and a half ago.
Gosh, yeah.
And
So I think it's been like two years.
probably because time
No,
just
year
goes,
and a half.
"Oh,
Oh my word, I don't know.
I know." And what a fabulous mastermind that was. Such an amazing woman to learn from herself, Eileen Wilder. And I always say to people that you must put yourself in the rooms because you never know who you're going to meet. Like, you meet
That's
like minded women, like, I've met you, I've met so many other women from there and men. But I think that as an entrepreneur, it's as a business owner or as somebody wanting to evolve in career, you've got to invest in mentors and coaches and put yourself in these rooms because that is where you meet people and you never know where that can go.
absolutely. We've probably heard the phrase proximity is power, but
Proximity is power.
staying close, it really is power, but it like unleashes your power because even as a woman, we don't know what we don't know.
Mm.
We're building businesses as we're raising babies and evolving ourselves through every phase and stage of womanhood.
Yep.
That's just so much change. It's so different than men and how they build businesses. And so it's so crucial that we do get in rooms with other women and just learn all different ways of doing business and find our way in it. So I love that we got to
So
meet
true.
and it's just been so powerful to watch you grow and watch you excel. And we just have such a through line narrative and are
Yeah.
very, very aligned in what we do.
So true. I think that's what I was going to say to you as well. I feel like we've kind of lived the same kind of life in so many
Yes.
ways. And I remember when I first met you, and I remember you walking in the room, and I remember thinking, oh, who's this lady? And
Mm.
you were like, well, first of all, everyone should know she's stunning and she's fit as a fiddle. And I think that you had even been for like how many kilometers runs before you You even got there that morning.
I
I mean, I
literally
just
just
opened up
put
my
in
right
right
before
before
this
this
came up.
podcast. I was, like, hurrying to get my
I
7
know
miles.
she's out there training all the time. She's as fit as a fiddle. She's amazing, and she just has this energy. And that's what happens when you put yourself in these sort of arenas. You meet people like that, right? And they're the people you want to be around because we all learn from each other. And it's very interesting when you do that because that's where the high achieving people are.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's been great to have that. But we are now here and we're going to learn from you today, Jenni Rae, because I know you've helped thousands and thousands of women in business succeed, but not only succeed, do it in a way where they don't burn out. And I think right now, the catalyst to everything is this trying to figure out a way to succeed in this world without
Mhm.
sacrificing your health, your energy, without burning out, and trying to create that balance. I think that learning from you today, all the science backed stuff that you've got is going to be, I know the audience are absolutely going to love today because they're just going to resonate with it. And so yeah, so it's just fabulous that you can be here with
Do
us
it.
today.
I'm so excited. Thank you. Thank you again for having me.
Yeah, but I wanted to start with the first thing because I want to say that I did a keynote just last week, right, to on International Women's Day that to thousands of women, and I started it by talking about being the hamster on the wheel. That's all I ever knew, and I showed an image of a hamster on the wheel, and I said I bought
Mhm.
into this culture of to be successful you must hustle harder, and I asked who in the room bought into that culture, and nearly every woman in the room put their hand up.
Hmm.
Isn't that interesting that we
Yeah.
all felt like to be successful, you have to be hustling like a crazy person? And I feel like I said it took me 3 decades to get off that hamster wheel.
Wow.
I wish I knew now I wish I knew now what I knew then. Sorry, I wish I knew what I know now back then. And I
Yes.
think that's what we can teach a lot of other women coming through, that it doesn't have to be like that because
Mhm.
alignment can become your assignment by figuring that out. But the thing I love in your concept and your ideas that you share is that there's these 3 types of hustle, and I never knew that. You call it the stress hustle, the scarcity hustle, and the trauma hustle.
Mhm.
Can you
Yeah.
elaborate a little bit more on that for us?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think because we've lived in a really a hustle culture for so long where hustle's been glorified,
Yeah.
billion-dollar brands are built off of hustle and grind and hard work.
Mhm.
We've come by this way of working, like all these women that you've talked to at this keynote, we've come by this way of working so honestly. It's in our
Yes.
culture, it's in our family systems. As women entering into really a men's world, it's what we've
Mm.
seen men build things through conquering, conquest. It's
Mm.
more of an empirical way of thinking, like, let's go build the empire. So, women, we don't build that way. We don't build our homes. I don't conquer my children every day. I don't try to
Yes, good point.
conquer, destroy, and
Yeah.
pillage and take. Like, I'm nurturing and I'm loving and I'm
Yes.
as tough as they come. Like, I am tough as nails. I'm a former Division 1 athlete. Like, I go run hills and run in the heat. Like, I'm tough, but I don't
Yeah.
nurture things that way. I nurture
Yeah.
them to life. Like, I don't conquer
Yeah.
them. So then you enter into this workspace and what you've seen modeled, what you've seen applauded and awarded, it's like, okay, it makes sense. This is how we have to do it. And at work, we shut off our heart. We shut off who we
Mm.
are. We
So
shut off our
true. So
femininity.
true.
We set
Yep.
it to the side. And in the process, we actually dissociate from ourselves. And any way we feel like we have to dissociate from who we are, truly how we're wired, we fracture parts of ourself and
Mm.
we disintegrate, like we're disintegrating literally.
Yeah.
And if you look at the root word of integrity is like integrated wholeness. And so we have
Yeah.
women out in the work world and women business owners and female founders everywhere working from what I call toxic hustle, these 3 types of toxic hustle, and we are out of integrity with ourselves. We are
Oh,
out
totally.
of integrated wholeness, and that's why it feels so heavy and so hard. So
Yep.
I'm more than happy to dive in and jump into those 3, but that's a little bit of just
Yeah.
this is how we got here.
Yeah, that's so true, and we spoke about the feminine hustle, right? So I think I called it female hustle before. Sorry about that. I think it's feminine hustle that we
Feminine
talk about.
hustle, yes.
And I think that the feminine hustle is so interesting because I've spoken many times on here about the fact that I was in this male dominated restaurants, right? So I ran chicken restaurants and they were run by my competition were men that had been in that industry for 30 years, right? In the
Mm.
family business, and they're all male dominated. And to me, walking in was just crazy. My husband wasn't even involved.
Oh,
He was in as a CEO in a building construction. So I was kind of running this, and the running joke was, how long before she burns down the chicken shops? And I was asking myself the same questions. But my point is that I had to kind of go toe to toe with these men. And I could feel myself in this masculine energy every day that I felt like I had to be in, and how
mm,
exhausting that was. And no wonder 7 years of doing that, I was burnt out.
mm.
And I didn't know how to switch off, like become have the feminine energy when I got home, because I was still in this male energy. And yeah, and it took me a long time to figure that out. And when I got out of it, then I was able to sort of like figure it out and change it. And I've completely, changed and aligned my life now. But are you seeing more of that? Like you're saying, like we are, how do women work through that feminine hustle to try and
Yeah, well,
maintain
I
a
think it's
level of femininity?
yes, I think it's important first to identify and to know
Mm,
that I don't believe hustle's bad. I don't believe
yeah, I
anything in
agree.
this world moves without hustle, a level of
Yeah.
hustle. Like we wouldn't watch. I'm a huge basketball fan. I played Division 1 soccer. We would not watch sporting events if the athletes weren't hustling. We'd be like, "Come
Of
on,
course.
man, what's wrong? Like,
Completely.
go."
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
about hustle rightly placed. It's about
Yeah.
seasons or moments or knowing how to hustle. So I
Mm,
always say hustle itself isn't bad. It's how and why you're hustling that is. That's what causes the problem. So
yeah.
I think it's before we can even get to understanding a new way of doing it, we have to really explore and look at how we're doing it right now
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
identify and almost
Yes.
self-identify where we're at in these toxic hustle patterns. And how do you
Mm,
know if you're in toxic hustle? I mean,
mhm,
you can feel it. So there's stress hustle, there is scarcity hustle, and there's trauma hustle. Stress hustle is when everything feels urgent and your nervous system,
mm,
it always is activated. You are
mm,
constantly on edge. You're producing it so much, but it feels heavy. Sometimes it feels, I hear clients of mine say, I feel like I'm suffocating. I feel like I'm drowning.
mm.
I feel like the weight, it's crushing me.
Yeah.
Developed exercise. I developed asthma. It was like, how do I even have asthma? But I remember just feeling in this season when I was in so much stress hustle. This is how I identified it in my life is reverse engineered all the things that did not work for me to build multiple businesses. And
Yeah.
every single one of them mirrored a different type of hustle for me. The first one mirrored
Okay.
stress hustle. We had lost a job and
Okay.
on the heels of losing a job, we had actually lost a son in a bed that was
Um,
recalled by Fisher Price, our number 3. So I have 4 children, and our number 3, I found him face down in a crib. I
Jenni Rae, I'm so sorry that
Supposed to be a
happened.
normal Saturday yeah, we're coming up on 20 years, and it feels like
Wow.
it literally feels like yesterday, but it's what started
Yeah.
this journey for me because you lose something, and then
Mm,
we're like, not only that, we lose a job, and we're living out of a food pantry, eating beans and rice for every meal, and, like, 9 months with no income, and
yep.
so we had this a brilliant idea to start a network marketing business, and I'm like,
Yep.
"I hate and I don't wanna speak. I'm not that girl.
Yep.
I've got my PhD in dirty diapers and laundry. Like, I've had 4 kids in years, and I'm going, of, like, losing
Yeah.
one. So, that business started for me, and it ended up being the biggest blessing because the
Mm,
work of learning how to build a business works us. The work works us. And
yes.
that work developed me. It changed me.
Yep.
So it's nothing is ever all bad and unhealthy
No.
or good and perfect, right?
Yeah.
There's
So
something
true.
beautiful about it. But that season for me is where I was working from this place of constant pressure that everything
Mm,
depended on me. Everyone.
right.
I was sitting my clients under the table. Everyone needed orders at 10 o'clock at night. And I'm trying to homeschool kids. And so
Yep.
if you're in
Journal.
stress, yeah, it feels like
Mhm.
busy, overextended, juggling it all, and you feel like you're one responsibility away from breaking. So I'm going to stop there
Yes.
and just, check in and say, have you ever been in stress hustle, Angela? I'm sure you can relate to that first
I
one, right?
think I've lived majority of my life in it, and I think what
Yeah.
I realized after I stopped doing it, that I realized it was part of my identity. If I wasn't hustling, who was Angela? If I
Mm,
wasn't pushing, if I wasn't achieving, if I wasn't ambitious, if I wasn't setting new goals, I'd been setting goals since I was 12 years old as an athlete.
yeah.
So that's and having coaches and mentor, I didn't know
Yes.
any different. because I thought that's what everyone was doing. And then you realize not everyone's living like that. Like, not everybody
Yeah.
will push that hard. And it's interesting you talk about network marketing and direct sales, because I started out in my 20s in a
Okay.
direct sales industry. And the foundations of everything that that taught me is who I am today. I
Mhm.
wouldn't ever take that back. I mean, you know, you learn a lot. It's like a grounding. It's like your training ground in there,
Yes.
and it strengthens you in a way that, you know, you learn how to be rejected, you learn how to speak, you learn how to, do sales, you learn how to do all these things that
Everything.
you don't necessarily get out there in the real world, right? So I think I'm all for, direct sales and network marketing, good companies that have high integrity, because that is where you can really learn a lot. Personal development started for me back there. I say that I've been a student of personal development for 30 years. So
Mhm.
I really believe that's a catalyst to people's success, and not thinking that, hey, I went to school, went to uni, did my degree, done now, I don't need to learn anything. No, it's always evolving. You're always learning, you're always growing. It's important to constantly keep learning. But I love this whole thing that you're sharing about the hustle and the burnout, because another thing that I was talking about in this keynote the other day was because it was International Women's Day, the theme was balance the scales.
Mm.
And I started with a thing saying, is balance a myth? When can we balance? Like, how do we balance? Like, think about, okay, you got the kids, you've got this, you've got all of these things and all these expectations around you. How can you be in balance? And you go through different seasons and different chapters that expect different things and different levels of energy from you through those stages. So you might be going through a season of grief, losing your son, and then that what that takes away. And then there's a time where you're pushing hard and ambition, trying to get ahead financially, and that needs an expectation of hustle from you. So do you find that you see that as well in life? The different levels of energy that you need to be giving in different times. Sometimes it might be a season of just, taking it a bit more easy. But yeah, what do you find around that? Do you see that there's these levels of seasons and times where you do need to hustle
Yes.
more than other
So
times?
I think what I see a lot with women though is because we don't understand that there is a high performance pattern that
Mm,
got set into motion for us
yeah.
between the age of 0 to 7. As little girls,
Okay.
if you're a high achiever, if you're a high performer, you learned really it's science is showing it's between the age of 0 and 4 even. Everything you do today as an adult was set into motion between 0 to 4. And so
Wow.
you learned this way of being in the world
Mm,
that if I achieve more, if I do more, people come close. I
there
get
you go.
acceptance, I get love, and everything as a kid, your entire aim, unconsciously and consciously, is to not be alone, to have people come towards you, to be loved and to belong. So in a perfect world, right, our parents would
Mm,
show us, the people that love us, our caretakers would show us that we do belong apart
yeah.
from what we do. But for high performers, there is a pattern that got ingrained early, early on
Mm,
in life that taught
mm,
them this is how you have to be. So what
yes.
happens with high performers is they hustle, 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 grind, and, I mentioned the stress hustle, there's scarcity hustle when you feel like if you slow down, it's all gonna go away if I keep
Mm,
pushing. So you push through even though it's not aligned. I know you talk a
mm,
lot about alignment and the work that you do,
mm,
but scarcity hustle is whenever you're working from this place of fear that there'll never be enough time and money,
mm.
enough energy, enough love, enough opportunity, enough clients, enough support. Where'd we learn that? You learn
Where did
that
we
as
learn that?
a
Yeah.
child somewhere in your
Somewhere.
story, it got ingrained that there wasn't enough, but I know how to make sure there is enough. If I
Mm,
override my limits, if I
mhm.
overfunction, if I overgive, there's always enough. People move towards me, people applaud me, people say, "Good job, go baby, go," right? And
Okay,
so
yeah.
learned we've learned that way of that pattern, and so it puts the
Mm,
scarcity thinking in our mind. That's the scarcity hustle side. And so my point of saying that is as women, we've learned over here how to function in overdrive and maxed out. It doesn't work. And we hit this point where we just can't do it anymore. And we're like, okay, I'm gonna swing over here and I'm gonna check out. Like this the only way I know how to offload this pressure is,
stop.
you know,
Yeah.
just be, just rest, let me stop. The problem is we built businesses that need a leader at the helm. And when the leader's not at the helm, like the business doesn't make money. There's no revenue
And they're
coming in.
not gonna give what we gave, because not everyone is a high performer like that. They're not gonna do it.
Yes. Yeah, and so it's like how we almost swing on this pendulum back and forth between over
Yeah.
functioning, over delivering to over
Yeah.
here under functioning. And then we're
Oh,
not happy with ourselves because it's ingrained in us to do. And that's like
yes.
our default.
Yes.
So, yeah, and that whole swing of a pattern is that really that third type. It's deeply rooted in and just hearing it and what you said about your story,
Yeah.
trauma hustle. It's the deepest one. It's where you mentioned
Mm,
identity. This trauma hustle is where your identity gets fused and tied to your performance. So you're not
mm.
just achieving, you're working to prove something
That's
about
true.
who you are, not just what you can do and produce. It's about who you are. So
Mm,
trauma hustle is when we're working from unconscious, unprocessed pain, but trying to rewrite the story of failure, of loss or rejection. And
mm,
we get the same thing though, every time. That's the lie of
mm,
toxic hustle. And I've found that I've done so much research on this. And according to Forbes, more than 50% of entrepreneurs say that trauma played a role in why they launched their business. And
mm,
that statistic is closer to 90% for women. So some form of
mm.
trauma in their life is why they started it. And
Wow.
oftentimes we don't even realize it. We're trying to outrun something. We're trying to prove something. We're trying to get away from something. We're trying to be someone. And so,
Interesting.
um, yeah, Stanford research found, that owners who actually work from unhealed trauma, they're 3 times more likely to just repeat that trauma cycle in their business. So in other words, the business mirrors back to them the trauma they're trying to outrun. You
Yep.
find it in your clients, you
Of course
find
it
it in
does.
the people you
Yeah.
hire, right? You're
Ah,
like, "Keep attracting the same type woman
same,
in my business or the
same.
same type the
Oh,
same problem over and over and over." It's because we're working. The hustle itself isn't bad. It's the type of hustle we're working from. It keeps
yeah.
generating these results that we don't like, but we get away with it because we're good enough to get away with it for a while until it
Mm,
doesn't work anymore. It works until it doesn't, right? And that's what you're
yeah.
talking about. Is like once it stops working for us, we're like, how do I achieve this balance? How do I get to this state
Mm.
of balance?
Jenni Rae, what you've just said is so important and so true. And I feel like you're preaching to the choir here when you were telling a lot of that information. Because I've always, when I say it was the hamster on the wheel, let's say 3 decades
Mhm.
like that. And then when I finally stepped off and I chose to sort of, sell all the restaurants and really take stock of
Mhm.
everything. I look back how much energy I was giving away that never gave me any energy back. And I decided to start this energy audit. And this energy
Mhm.
audit was all about finding time for myself and giving back energy to me. And then I realized how much through social media, through other things that just were stealing my energy. And I think the whole world now is it's built to get your eyes, your attention, your energy, your focus, and
Yes.
how much we give away. So I created what I heard about this sacred morning ritual. And I get up at 6 a.m., same time every morning, and I go into the sauna. And first thing I do is a meditation, but I make sure my phone is always on do not disturb. So no emails, notifications, or anything can come in. And it's like a protection that you do over your mind that you don't allow anything else to get in there. You control what goes in. You control the start of your day. And when you control that level of, in the middle of in the beginning of the day about what goes into your mind, what feeds your mind, how to think, how to feel, who you want to be that day, and how you're going to show up, changed everything for me. So I found that that was the thing, that was the catalyst to me kind of getting off that hamster wheel and finding a way where I could calm my nervous system. All of the cortisol started to come out of my body. I could feel it. The puffiness came out of my face. The inflammation started to come out of my joints.
Yeah.
Um, and I would just and I feel like just the years and years of stress started to slowly dissolve out of my body. So I can completely relate to everything that you're
Mhm.
saying because I think there's a level for women where you reach what I call the midlife crossroads, usually around 40s or 50s, and you think, I can't sustain this level of hustle anymore. I can't keep doing this. And why am I doing it? And how am I doing all this stuff that you're talking about? So it's really poignant in my life as well, where that was one of the things the other day when I spoke about it to these women. The one thing they kept messaging me and resonating was that this energy audit, how much they were giving out and not receiving back. And you don't realize how much you do give out. It drains you. So what's your thoughts about like sacred morning rituals, energy audits? What are the non-negotiables that you do in your life that keep you like grounded, focused, and performing at your best?
I love that, Angela. I love that you're focusing in on energy
Yeah.
because it is literally one of our greatest resources.
Yep.
You and you alone have the power with how you spend it. So it's
It's,
like
a,
if I'm
it's
given it
your most precious currency. That's what
yeah,
I call it.
it
Energy
really
is your most
is. I
precious
love that.
currency.
Totally in agreement with you on that because
Yeah.
it's like we can fake it. You know, you hear the whole fake it till you make it. I don't
Yeah.
believe in that.
No, I don't either. I
It
don't
just
either.
doesn't work because people can feel your energy. So even
Mm.
if you have a fake and a facade, which I had for years, that everything was fine, I'm making it, and there's this facade of success, and on paper it looked great, and I was at the top. We got to the top of 2 different network marketing companies, and so much
Wow.
like you in this space of, like, the restaurant space, we were in the top 1% of
Mm.
our field, and I'm like, I don't even still don't even know how I got there. A lot of hard work and hustle, right? And learning and skilling up.
Yep.
But I had to make a really hard decision. This is getting to the guarding of the energy because it is now a daily practice for me, but the daily practice started with a moment of decision of
Okay.
my peace, the internal peace that I walk
Yeah.
in
Mm.
is it's priceless. There is no price tag on this, and I realized what I was I talk a lot about, like, I was losing my authority. So, the same
Yeah.
as energy. I think our authority that we carry, like, when we
Mm.
walk in rooms and we can command a room, we can command the space. You
Mm.
can't command a
Mm.
room, you can't command higher revenue, you can't command your business if you can't command the chaos that's running inside of you. And so,
Running
when
in.
we give ourself over to I'll do everything for everyone all the time and I can't say no. That's where this starts is
Yes.
commanding and ordering the chaos within. And it starts with saying no. It starts with something
Yeah.
so simple as this, I've outgrown this. And I think as
Yeah.
women, especially when you've built something successful, and it sounds like for you in the restaurant business, it was terrifying for me to walk away. I walked away multiple times from multiple businesses that I knew I had evolved out of, but I didn't even have that language. I could
Yeah.
not have articulated that. I felt like a failure. I felt like I
Yeah.
was doing something wrong. I felt like I was bad for leaving. And yet looking back, I'm like, it was the best decision
And
I could
yeah.
have possibly made. I
Yeah.
knew there was something misaligned. I knew there was something robbing energy. And so we know we've hit that wall. There's a lot of people that will use this energy conversation as an excuse to play small,
Yeah.
as an excuse to swing over here to, you know what?
Yeah.
It's just, energetically draining me. It's just not good for me anymore. And I'm like, I don't play that way. I'm like, well,
No.
if it's not energetically good for me anymore, what am I moving towards? Because
Yes.
I don't move from something without moving to something.
Do something. Yeah.
I'm gonna shift
Right.
that energy and I'm gonna put
Yeah.
it into something more aligned, and it's aligned whenever you come alive again. That's the
Yes.
thing. We have so much like energy replicates. It's like self-replicating when you take care of yourself and when you are in alignment. It's just that when you're out of alignment, like you've outgrown the business you built or the offer that you built or the company
Mm.
that you're with or the leadership position, it is the terror of I've outgrown it and I know it in my gut. I'm just scared to say no or scared to
Yeah.
move on. But the moment you do, it's like this rush of life and energy that comes back. And so I know that's not my morning routine yet, but that is like how it all starts. It's being willing to make that hard decision at times. And it could just be no to a person, it could be no to something in your business, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If it's
Yeah.
something that's draining you and doesn't feel aligned anymore, it's that power to say no to it because
Yeah.
it's unbelievably important to do that. I call it shifting from an old identity. You're literally letting that old identity go so you can rise into the next. And I really feel like it's this metamorphosis, like the cocoon stage. It's the most disorientating and the most uncomfortable
It
stage you
is.
can go through, right? And it's uncertain and there's no guarantees in that place, but you've got to move through it and it takes as long as it takes. So it's
Yeah.
honoring that chapter that you're in. If it's in the cocoon stage, you're in that uncomfortable, you'll figure it out. Like it was frightening for me to leave the restaurants. We are going to franchise and yeah, same thing.
Mm.
But I knew that it did not align with who I was becoming. And I had to be
Yeah.
honest with myself and say, you're out, you got to move on, you're out of alignment. You can't keep living like this. And it's the best thing I ever did. But it
Yeah.
took a long time to figure out what was next. So, when women say to me, I don't know what to do next or whatever, I say, well, I'm not sure which way to go. I go, well, think about what have you done for the last 2 or 3 decades? That's lived experience that you can bring into your next chapter, into what you're doing now, and layer that onto what you're doing. You don't let go of all of that experience and all that knowledge and all that wisdom. It's part of you. It's all
Yeah.
part of who you are and your identity. And that helps shape you for your next thing. So it's like, don't, when I said you're not starting from scratch, you're starting from your experience. So if you are in that uncomfortable stage of like letting go of an old identity and maybe shifting into a new one, have the courage to do it, because just know that I guess it will all sort of figure out and the dots will join. And
Yeah, that's really powerful, Angela, because I feel like what you're saying there is if women can hear this, you're talking about shifting the focus from hustle grind and we're not supposed to hustle to if you just focus in on your identity and who
yep,
you are in this season of life, the hustle
yep,
actually takes care of itself because you are
yeah,
recentered, you are regrounded. And so I love that you have this practice in the morning of the sauna. I'm like, I knew we were so aligned. High fives. We're sauna sisters. I get up at
love this
5
one.
AM every day and I hop in the sauna, and this is new for me. It was like a huge
Really?
investment, but I'm like, "Oh my word, I've got to do this." Like, so my non-negotiables are that time, it feels like this little haven, and if you don't have a
Mm,
sauna, that's fine. Pick something that is a quiet space for you, and then
yes,
for me, immediately after, I move my body.
yes,
Physical fitness and movement, whatever you don't move, you lose, and
yep,
I
so
know
true.
a big part of my story, I had chronic fibromyalgia, at 28 years old after, the loss of our son. It was a 2-year battle, and I thought, "I'm not gonna live to see 30." My body hurt so bad to touch me, and my kids would hug me, and I would
Amazing what the body can do, kind of when it
it's
knows it,
amazing.
when
Yeah,
it's in a
it taught
state.
me the
Yeah.
power of, like,
Mm,
our body is speaking where our mouth will not. So for
yeah.
women who are stuck in this indecision about this midlife and this season of where they're at, or
Mm,
they don't know what they wanna do, or they feel like they can't say no, or they feel like they can't transition, I get that. My body
yeah,
started speaking. It was like, "Oh, no, if you're not going to use your mouth and your agency and the authority that you have to decide, to say what you want and need." And it's so crazy. Like as women, grown adult women, it's one of the scariest thing. I get these high level
mm,
clients that come to me, and one of the scariest
mhm,
questions they have to answer for themselves is, who am I? And what do I want? And what do I need? And now who do I need? Have to go tell? Like it's terrifying because we
yeah,
spent so long abdicating what we want,
yes,
abdicating what we need to make sure
yes.
everyone else is taken care of. Right.
Everyone else is taken care of, yep.
Yeah.
You've
So
had to do
starting the day off.
expectations of everyone else's came first.
Yes. So starting the day off, even if you still have littles at home, but I know you're
Yeah,
speaking mostly to women in midlife, and I've
mm,
I've got one. My last one is graduating in a couple months, and so I'm entering
mm,
into this new season of my life. But I have put these things in place early so that even my kids, as they're watching and in college, it's transformed their life. My kids lived with me through the season of a business out of stress hustle, a business
yeah,
out of scarcity hustle, and a business
yeah,
out of trauma hustle. They watched their mom build 3 different businesses. This last
mm,
business, is fourth one, they've watched launch from a totally different place, and it took me walking away from what I'd known since I was 19. Like, I'd started that network marketing, business as a 19-year-old in a college dorm room, and then it got really serious. We went all
wow,
in after my husband lost a job, and so it was all I knew of business and
mm,
launching out and starting my own coaching company, but I was so determined I was not going to do it the same, but I knew it was going to require some non-negotiables. It was going to take me guarding my energy,
mm,
guarding my space,
starting
starting
it,
my
yeah,
day out different, guarding my mind, and really making a fierce commitment to my health and to my
yeah,
peace. And that, you know what,
yeah,
I won't do it from this place of
no,
force, because
won't go back to it.
what you take by force, you have to keep by force, and I had built 3 businesses out of
Oh, that's a
force,
good
and I
one,
had
yeah,
to keep it. I had to keep it and hold it white knuckling, and so, again, I'm not an excuse girl. That didn't mean, "Well, I
no,
just wanna protect my peace, so I'm just not gonna do it." It's like, "No, I'm going to do it. I'm gonna learn how to do it different." And so
Different.
that was the journey I went on, is like, I'm not giving up my ambition. I don't work with,
Yeah.
women that are like wanting to just sit on the couch and do nothing all day. I work with
No.
high performing, ambitious women, and I know you do too, who know that there's so much more inside of them. They just know they can't hold anymore without it crushing them. So it's like
Yeah,
we
that's right.
have to shift how we're approaching it.
Yes, so much wisdom there in everything that you've just said. And I keep going back to this thought of like, we don't need more momentum. I mean, we don't need more motivation or inspiration. What
Mhm.
we need is a direction, right? So that's what I find is this
Yeah,
level of like where to, how to. Like these, even though they sound like small little things like energy audit, sacred morning rituals, a sauna, moving your body, drinking plenty of water, going to bed early, it sounds simple,
it
but they
does.
are the most it's the repetition of
Yeah,
those things. It's the continuous repetition and creating those daily habits that get formed, that become part of who you are and your new identity, that change everything. And you wouldn't think just such small little things like that would make such a powerful difference, but they do. And I bang on about them all the time now, the sauna, the stretching, the cold
yes.
plunge, I go into the pool, which is my version of a cold plunge,
Okay.
but even that, just doing that each day in the middle of winter, like going up to my neck, I won't get my hair wet or anything. And I hate cold water. But just that alone has proven to me that I can do hard things. See,
Mhm.
when you do the hard things and that when you like that, when the hard things actually come, like starting a business, stepping on a stage, doing a TEDx talk, doing the hard things that really are uncomfortable and nerve wracking, you've
Yeah.
built some evidence or some proof in yourself, in your psyche, and in your nervous system that she says what she's going to do. She can do hard things. She's back to self, and I know she's got this. And that alone just builds so much in your identity that, you've got that. So I think
Mm.
that's what I try to teach people. The more you push yourself outside of your comfort zone, the more committed you are to doing the uncomfortable things, it will show up in the long run for you. They really
Yeah.
will. And I think that's you're definitely evidence of that,
Yeah,
that's
and,
that
our families, our kids, our people are watching. My
they're watching.
son
Yeah.
my son got to
Who's your
run.
athlete son? Your son is such an incredible athlete. I've been
He's
watching him.
amazing, and it's amazing to watch
Yeah.
my story being rewritten through him because, I was an athlete
Yeah,
that
would
got
you?
there off of kill your body. We were of the era where there was no recovery days. It was like, just get across the finish line, whatever it takes. And he is running from such a different place. He got to represent Team USA in Spain. He got to run on a
Wow.
world stage as a 17-year-old, and he came in
Goodness
7th at the
me.
world. But he runs from identity. He knows who he is, and he never lets a single race
Beautiful.
and the performance of the race dictate how he sees himself. He's a runner, and he already knows he's a pro runner. He talks about the pros all the time, and so he trains like a pro. So to your point, he eats like a pro. He sleeps like a pro. He goes to bed. I mean, this kid's like just turned 18, and he goes to bed. He's ready for bed at 8:39. He fuels himself properly. He drinks, he wakes up, he's got the rituals and the routines. And to some that might sound extreme, but he is so clear on where he wants to go.
Exactly.
So every single behavior then has to align
Line
with
with it.
headed. So with women and the businesses and the work that we want to do, we don't have to dim and dull that ambition, that
No,
goal. Like my son, he's got this huge goal. He wants to run in the Olympics in 2028. He wants to be there on that stage. And
he
so
will be.
he
He will be. I
every
can't wait to
day
see him run.
every day, every race,
Yep,
every single thing he does is aiming at that goal, but not
absolutely.
with obsession. It's with
No,
intentionality. And that's the difference. He's not obsessed. He's just clear. He's clear
love it.
and knows what it means he's going to have to do. And then he's willing to make those sacrifices. So when we talk about things that are important to us and the things we want to build, I can't lie to you and say there's not going to be sacrifices. There's
Mm.
not like, well, if there's no hustle, it doesn't mean there's sacrifice. No, there's sacrifice. It's like if he wants to be an elite athlete, he's sacrificing eating chocolate cake every night.
Yeah,
But to
of course.
him, sacrifice because of the reward of the work and the
Yeah,
way he's doing it, because he's
yes.
fueling himself and he feels so good and he's guarding and protecting that energy the way
Mm.
you're talking about. So
Yeah.
that is how we can show up to our work so different. When we have this goal, it doesn't mean self abandon,
Mm.
hurt ourselves, hustle and grind ourselves into the ground. It's
No way.
the way we learn to do hard. So what you're
Yeah.
talking about is actually retraining your system to a new hard. At first,
Yeah.
it was hard for my son to say no to desserts, to say no to Friday night football games with his friends, to say no to certain things, but he knew there was a bigger purpose, a bigger
There's a
cause
sacrifice. Yeah.
to
Bigger calling,
eventually,
bigger
yeah,
calling.
it wasn't hard anymore. And so he
Mm,
goes and does hard runs, he does all these things that to him, they don't actually feel like a sacrifice anymore. They're just in
mm,
alignment, and he feels so good energetically. He's like,
mm.
"How would I not do this? I feel horrible if
Exactly.
I don't." And so I think that's the beautiful tipping point
Yeah.
we get to is when, like you're probably talking about, you've guarded and protected that energy for so long.
Mm,
You hit
mm.
that tipping point where you're like, "If I don't do these things, I don't feel great. I don't feel like me. I don't feel clear. I
Yeah.
don't feel aligned. I feel just off."
Yeah, so it's exactly what it is. It's like and I think for him, it's like when you think about, and this is, I guess, when in any part of our lives, whether it's business, sport, or whatever, if you set a goal and this is a big goal that you're after, and you are not in alignment with getting towards that goal, it's never going to happen. Like you have to walk the talk. You have to be in alignment with how that's going to go. When people say
Absolutely.
they want this, you go, well, really? Because the universe will test you. It will test you in ways, do you really want this? And I'm going to show you again, do you really want this? And if you keep failing at that and you're not sacrificing, you're not doing the things that are in alignment with that big goal, it's not going to happen. But it doesn't mean that we have to be in that burnout and that stress and putting ourselves there, that it's just going to, not be healthy in a way. And I remember you were saying that you're a recovered performaholic. And I
Yes.
love that. I feel exactly the same. A recovered performaholic where we work hard on everything that we ever did. And knowing now that you don't have to push so hard to attract things into your life or to be successful. Don't know why it's taken all these decades to learn that, but the fact that
Yeah.
we learn that now and we can share that with ultimate conviction that you don't have to be like us, a performing, what is it? A recovered performaholic. You can actually live
Yeah.
a life of alignment and success and purpose without the burnout. Not you can gotta have the hustle, but not the hustle of burnout.
Yeah, and I think the line is, well, recovered performaholic, burnout, we hear these words. It's
Mm,
whenever as women we are over functioning, when we are
yes,
doing for others what they can actually do for themselves, that they are
yes,
fully capable of doing, when we are
yes,
over responsible, whenever we're actually enabling bad behavior on the other side of us. If we're
yes,
over functioning, we're inviting under functioning on the other side of us. If we are
yes,
over responsible, we are probably enabling other people to be under
under
responsible. And then we're resentful of the life we've actually contributed to creating, by
yeah,
our
you
overfunction.
enabled it. So true, it's what we do.
Yeah, it's a spouse, it's with our clients. And
Mm,
so there's this deeply rooted pattern that
yeah,
comes from that little girl fear of, but if I don't, I'll upset them. I'll
mm,
disappoint them. I'll
mm,
That's the work. That is
yeah,
the
that's the
deeper
work.
work. You wanna
That's the work.
it yeah, if you wanna shift out of it, it's getting clear on what that deep fear is for you. That
Yes,
if you were not doing everything for everyone all the time, if
mm,
you were not over functioning, what are you most afraid of? What
yeah,
comes up for you as like, "Well, I would upset them," or, "Okay, so if you upset them, then what?" And just
yeah,
start asking yourself, "Okay, and if that's true, then what?" And you
yeah,
can get down to the root of this deep fear that you're carrying and probably have been carrying for years. I
mm,
call it a 3-day event that I run in Franklin, Tennessee, the Rise Factor experience. We call this neuro story. It's a story that has been living in your system. This is why just changing your mindset and your thoughts
mm,
about something isn't enough, because the story you've been carrying since the time you were a little girl, it's living in your head, it's living in your
yep,
heart, it's living in your gut, and it's living in your body at a cellular level.
on a cellular
So
level.
you
Yeah,
change
wow.
or you can change a few things and you will see some success with that.
Yeah,
But until you rewire and recode that story that's living fully in your system, it's why whenever something goes sideways or somebody asks you for something, you're just reacting. You're jumping.
mm,
And that's when you get into the over functioning. It's a pattern that's just running
it's a pattern.
subconscious. But you can rewire that. You can totally recode
Yeah,
that. Start to catch yourself and you're like, I'm shifting. For me, feminine hustle looked like starting a business and moving from a place of being reactive to a place
yes,
of
yes,
leading my life,
yes,
decide instead of reacting, and
yes,
urgency everywhere. I stopped letting urgency rule me. I stopped letting everybody's expectations rule me. I started to do the work of being okay with people being disappointed. Like, I
Yeah.
was not okay if people were not okay with me. Okay. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you okay with
Yeah, me
me? Like,
too. Yeah.
that was it. It was just like,
Yeah.
I was so scared. And so it was just, it looked so successful. It looked like I was so confident, but inside I was terrified that
Struggle.
I don't want to make people upset. And so it would steal my authority, my agency, my voice, my
Yes.
no. And to your point, when you do that, you are losing energy all day long. It's like a leaky bucket. Like your energy's gone because you're
It's
just
gone. Yeah.
at everybody else's beck and call. And so part of really reclaiming that energy, I think, is literally learning the word no and not reacting.
So many women can relate to this. I just think so many women are gonna get so much out of this because that's how we are, that's how we feel, that's this idea. I think what you've just shared then, something from our past, whether what it was, and if you can really get through figure that out and break through that because like you
Yes.
said, it's a mindset, it's a story, it can be shifted, it can be changed, and you can rewire that and, work a lot. That's exactly what happened when I started doing the stuff in the sauna as well. Everything I stopped reacting to everything like I used to. I think that was the biggest benefit of me doing my sacred morning ritual.
I
So when
love
I
that.
started the day with my son who has ADHD and a whole bunch of other things just to get him organized in the morning and his bag and his assessments and all the stress around him just to get him out the door on
Yeah.
time. And I used to start calm, but by the end of it screaming, and I could think I'm reacting instead of responding, and I have to work on that, and I just couldn't do it in the loop that I was in, but now, I mean, he's finished school, but the point is I don't react like I used to, and that is really a really important part of when you do protect your energy and you do focus on yourself first, you come from a place where you are much more centered and grounded to start your day before anybody else throws their expectations and wants something from you. And you have that level of resentment before you even start the day. So really, really important points there, Jenna Rae, because I know so many of my audience can relate to this as high performing women as well. And obviously pivoting in some of the people are pivoting in their careers at this time of their lives in the 40s and 50s. But I wanted to just mention something here that I loved. I think you said I saw it. You spoke about how women are just over it, right? And I think you said we're overachieving, we're overdoing this, we're sick of overachieving, over because we're overwhelmed, overscheduled, over performing. Did I say that one? Yeah. And all these overs that we are
Yeah.
over all these things. It's
Overcommitted,
so
over
true.
delivering.
How many times I used to say, I'm over it, like that's what we say. And this is brilliant because we are doing all of these things for everyone. And then by the end of it, you go, yeah, over it. But if to be over, to do all these things, overachieving, over, then you're saying that you're under,
You're living
what is
an
it?
under life. You
Yeah.
end up if you are living in the overs, overwhelmed, achieving, over functioning, over committed, over promising, over
Yeah.
delivering, all the overs, any form of that, overthinking. I mean, I have so many women that come, they're just ruminating,
Overthinking.
overthinking. You are living an under life, under fulfilled, under joy, under peace, under energy. Fill in the blank. You are just draining the
So
life
much wisdom
and
there.
living that over. And I see
Yeah.
so many high performing women and I hit the
Mm,
wall. I hit that wall as
mm,
well. And my marriage, it was showing up in my
mm.
relationships
It shows
and
up everywhere.
it
Shows
shows
up
up
everywhere. You don't
everywhere.
have the patience for anything.
Yes,
If
and then you
if
feel
you're
the
drained,
guilt.
you've got
It's like then you
nothing.
add guilt on top of what you're already feeling, and that is whenever we literally feel like we're gonna break because
That's when you're gonna break.
we don't realize that a lot of that high performance pattern that we're stuck in is being driven by guilt. If,
Mm,
if your listeners would do the work of follow the fear. What are you most afraid of if you stop? But then where's the guilt? Where's the guilt showing up? I have a little acronym that I teach a lot is fog. It's like we feel like this fog comes down on us and it's follow
mm,
the fog, like fear,
yeah,
obligation, and guilt. If you are where are you operating in fear? Where has obligation set in? And you're saying yes, but you really
yeah,
want to say no, but you just feel so obligated. And then
right.
where are you feeling all this guilt? Like if you like you said, getting your son ready for school, as soon as you yell and
Feel
you go
terrible.
outside of that, you feel terrible. All this guilt comes on you. And then the
Yeah,
rest of the day, you're trying to work from this place of like heaviness and fog. And it's like
yes,
if we were to try to drive a car through fog, it would be dangerous, right? We couldn't see
yeah,
straight. We don't have clarity and alignment. So the very things you're talking about here, yeah, we're trying to
I love
work
that.
our businesses and lead every day walking through fog. And so we
Mm.
have to lift that. To get out of that, we've got to follow the fear and see what we are so deeply afraid of. Look at where we're obligated and saying yes when we really need to be saying no. And then look at where guilt, we've trained ourselves like, a whip. We've whipped ourselves with guilt.
Mm.
And again, it's worked. It's gotten us so much success. There was a season of my life where it's like, I don't actually know who I'd be if I wasn't driving out of guilt. Like just this, I
Yeah.
feel so bad. I should. I feel so bad. I need to. Like, what if
Yeah.
I remove all that and I'm doing it just because I have so much peace on this, or I trust
Yeah.
myself, or this feels so aligned and good? Like, it's almost like we create our own chaos because we don't know what peace feels like. We don't know what it
Yeah.
feels like to have a cup overflowing with so much energy.
Yes.
And so we tend to revert to that fog. We tend to revert to, no, I just shrink back under this and go back to fear, obligation, and guilt until we can really truly get free of the pattern that's driving it.
Brilliant. Beautiful. So much wisdom, so much incredible information there that is going to help so many people. I mean, even that, just that fog, the fear, what is it? The fear,
Fear.
obligation, and guilt. Fear, obligation, and guilt. Brilliant. I mean, that is so true. And I think it's just, just is very, it's what so many women are living these days. And I think when you really get down to it and nail it and go through that fear, obligation, and guilt, it's actually not as bad as what we think. Whatever it
Yeah.
might be, really? And we get to the root of it all. Well, okay, if I didn't do that and I didn't say that and I didn't, will the world still turn up? Will the sun rise tomorrow? Yeah. The world will still keep turning. Yeah. Okay. Will that person be okay? Yeah, they will. Okay. Well, what am I doing? Let's like
Mhm.
stop this, this pattern and these habits and these repetition and start to break it and move it in a way where we can get to this point of having peace. And yeah, and I think that ultimately it's that peace of mind. That three special words. Peace of mind is what we should
Yeah.
be, working towards for that alignment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
good.
yeah, Jenna Rae, thank you so much for today. I just know that so many women are going to relate to this episode because we've all been there and done it, and so many people are working into this whole shifting and pivoting and change and trying to
Mhm.
figure out what they can let go of and creating new habits and letting go, getting off that hamster wheel and the hustle and why we
Yeah.
hustle and how we hustle. Again, really important things to be asking yourself. So, yes, thank you so much, Jenni Rae. It's been amazing, and yeah, it's just I know so people are gonna get so much out of it.
Yeah.
Really,
You're
really
so
clever.
welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, and you've got something coming up soon? What's happening with you at the moment? How can people get in contact with you or connect with you? Because I know
Yeah.
you're in,
Well, we're in
Tennessee?
Tennessee. Yeah. I actually have a free resource that you can grab called Break Free from Toxic Hustle. And I walk you through
Right.
the three different types. You can do an audit in your life. You can see what that next step is, but shifting anything starts with seeing it. So you cannot shift what you can't see. So you've got to
Yes.
see the pattern that is really keeping high performing women really stuck. And then
Yes.
from there, I have something that you can access called the crazy cycle, not because you're crazy, but because you feel crazy whenever you are stuck in that loop that we've talked about over and over, when you just get stuck in that and you can start
Mm.
interrupting that cycle. So we can drop the link for you to have that. And
Yep.
then coming up in spring, every spring and every fall, I run something in Tennessee and Franklin called the Rise Factor Experience. It's really helping women to reclaim where they've lost authority. We look through 7 different places where they have lost authority and where it's stopping and sabotaging their level of success that they know they're capable of, but they can't
Yeah.
break through on. And so we do a 3-day live experience in Tennessee, and it's a
Okay.
game changer. It's a I only take 10 to
Brilliant.
12 women through it at a time. So that's coming up in September.
Fabulous. Great. Thank you so much. We're going to put all that stuff into the show
Awesome.
notes as well so people can have access to that, especially that download that they can get started on straight away. I think I'm definitely going to have a look at that as well because it's
Absolutely.
always important to be breaking through and moving to the next level and shifting old identities and breaking bad habits.
Love
So
it.
no,
Thank you for
you
the work
have.
you're doing too, Angela. It's so powerful for
Thank
women.
you. Thank you, Jenna Rae. I really appreciate it. And all the best. Thanks again for being such an amazing guest on my podcast today, my second guest on our series, the Successful Women series. And I'm so glad that you are my second one. So thanks again, Jenna Rae. And I look forward to seeing you soon.
You're welcome. See you soon.
Bye for now.